Hey guys, this is my first time trying a video with a voiceover. I wanted to try to give some insight into my drawing process since a lot of people have been asking me about it on Instagram. For this video, I'll be painting my original character Ru Xiang like he's in a Polaroid picture. This character, well actually I don't draw him that often, but he lives in my head rent-free. He's a chaotic good, kind of unhinged type of character. He's the local god of a village in the countryside, and because he uses some very questionable methods to do good for his people, his third eye got sewn shut by heaven as a punishment. So for this piece I tried to capture kind of a little bit of an unhinged expression, and I just think crazy vibe characters are really fun to draw, which is why I wrote him like this. So enough about my OC, I will talk a little bit about my drawing process. So here I'm doing some color blocking. You'll see me paint a bit on the different color blocks, and this is to create some color variation. I've been watching a lot of Marco Bucci's videos lately, and I really like the way he incorporates different hues and saturations into the colors that he uses while still maintaining a clean image. I've been trying my best to do that lately, and I really like the results that it brings. Now, on top of this folder, I clip a multiply layer to add in the shadows. I learned a lot about painting shadows and shape language, so now I usually create a big shadow shape and go in and add details later on when I'm rendering. By creating this big shadow shape, I make sure that the painting is readable and that there's a clear flow to it. So I'm still experimenting and practicing with this, but I do think it makes a big difference in my paintings. And when I render, I make sure that this shape stays mostly the way I intended it for it to be, and that I don't muddy its edges too much. I also duplicate my sketch layer and put it in the same multiply mode and color it with a darker color or a different hue. And then I softly erase the parts that I don't need. This is because with the sketch layer, I get a lot of the darkest shadows where things meet. I'm lazy, so I just use that. So a bit about my rendering process. I'm not really sure how to explain my rendering process now, but I'll try my best. What I do is basically carve out the shapes of the shadows and add in colors according to how I envision the lighting to be. I add colors and shape the shadows that I have to fit how the light would hit the planes of the object. So when I think about things, it's more in planes than in smooth surfaces because I just think it's easier to imagine what kind of shadows would be there. It's like sculpting, I guess. If I figure out a better way to explain it, then I will make a video about that in the future, but I think what I do during the rendering process is basically just sculpt out the shapes and details to make the image look convincing. I pay attention to the hard and soft edges that I'm creating, as well as the shapes that the shadows make. The simpler the better for me. And on the layers panel on the left, I didn't indicate when I was painting on the background, but just as an FYI, if you see me working on the background, that is on the background layer. Just a disclaimer, this is not a tutorial, this is just me sharing the way that I do things, and I encourage you to consult other resources to broaden your perspective and find your own way of doing things. To always take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm still learning myself, but I do hope that this process that I'm sharing with you guys can help somehow. So for this painting, I was experimenting a lot with lighting and colors. I wanted to create a more cohesive and aesthetically pleasing piece of work that also kind of tells a story. For me, the idea is that Ru Xiang was up to no good, and one of his friends, my other OC, just snapped a photo of him and he turns around. Looks a little unapologetic. I don't know, I think it's cute. I like drawing this kind of expression, and hopefully you get to see more of him in the future. I struggled a lot here, so you guys can just watch me struggle. I have some trouble drawing faces from this angle. I tend to make the features too far apart and the overall face too tall. So the liquify tool is really my savior. I use liquify to adjust the anatomical issues that I find later on in the painting. That I wouldn't be able to fix otherwise, and I'm very glad that Clip Studio Paint added that function. Even after drawing for so long, I still make mistakes that I maybe don't notice until later on in the process, and that's fine. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn how to recognize them and make them better, because mistakes are how you learn. At the end of the painting process, I make some final adjustments using adjustment layers such as color balance and levels. The color balance was to create that green tint that film photos have, while the levels was to create an overexposed vibe. The overlay layer that I used was to further exaggerate bright parts of the image, like there was a flash. To make the dreamy filter kind of vibe, I took the color of the shinier objects and used a bigger brush to spread them in one direction, up and down, and it kind of makes it look like those aesthetic Instagram filters or the blurry effect that you get from using older film cameras. I think it's because the brightness of the colors overloads the lens, but I'm not a camera expert, so correct me if I'm wrong. I made a few small changes after recording, but overall, that's the painting. Thank you for watching this video. Comment down below what I should post about next. Tell me what you liked about this video, what you didn't like about it. I'm still learning, and I want to be able to make better content for you guys. And be sure to follow me on Instagram to see my full paintings and some drawings that maybe I don't post to YouTube. Thank you, bye, and see you next time.